The hum of the Resurgence's engines thrummed through the command bridge, a steady reminder of the ship's vigilance in the vast, unwelcoming expanse of the Orion arm. Captain Elias Cade stood at the central holographic display, his arms crossed. The blue glow from the interface cast shadows over his sharp features. Around him, his crew worked in quiet efficiency, their movements precise, their eyes betraying years of survival in humanity's isolated empire. "Mining operations in Sector 7 report all clear," said Lieutenant Alara Price, the ship's first officer. Her voice was clipped but calm, the hallmark of a soldier hardened by years of Council hostility. "No signs of disturbance." Elias nodded, though his gut told him otherwise. "Keep an eye on the long-range scanners. The Council's too quiet for my liking." Before Alara could respond, a shrill alarm pierced the air. The holographic display shifted to a blinking red icon, a distress signal. The crew froze for a fraction of a second before springing into action. "Signals coming from a civilian convoy," said Communications Officer Rourke. His hands flew across the console, pulling up data. 3 freighters under attack near the Tevran Nebula. Identifying aggressors now. "Sir, it's Council enforcers." Elias's jaw tightened. "They're not supposed to operate in neutral space." "Supposed to doesn't mean they care," Alara muttered. Elias turned to the helmsman. "Plot a course to the convoy. Maximum speed. Price, alert all stations, combat readiness in 10. The crew moved as one, their motion sharp and efficient. Within minutes, the Resurgence shot through the void, its sleek frame slicing through the star-speckled darkness. "Visual on the convoy," Rourke announced as the ship emerged near the nebula's edge. The display showed 3 freighters, their hulls scarred from laser fire. Around them, 4 Council vessels prowled, smaller but faster than the Resurgence. Their weapons lit up like tiny stars, bombarding the unarmed freighters. Elias leaned forward. "Open a channel to the Council ships." The comm crackled to life, and a cold, clipped voice answered. "This is Commander Vrelis of the Galactic Council Enforcers. Leave the area, human vessel. This matter does not concern you." Elias's voice was steel. "Those freighters are under Earth's protection. You're violating neutral space and Council law. You forfeited the right to invoke Council law when your kind was banished." Vrelis sneered. "Withdraw, or be fired upon." Elias muted the channel and turned to his weapons officer. "Target their engines. Disable them." Alara raised an eyebrow. "We're outnumbered 4-1. And they don't think we'll fight back," Elias said. "Let's change their minds." The Resurgence surged forward, its weapons blazing. Precision laser fire struck the engines of the nearest Council ship, sending it spiraling out of formation. The sudden counterattack caught the other ships off guard, their movements faltering. "Direct hit on enemy vessel 2, called Weapons Officer Rena. "Their propulsion's offline." "Good," Elias said, his voice calm despite the chaos. "Keep the pressure on. Price, get those freighters out of here." Alara nodded, relaying instructions to the freighters. The civilian ships began limping toward the safety of the nebula, their engines flickering but functional. The remaining Council ships regrouped, their weapons focusing on the Resurgence. The bridge shook as a volley of plasma rounds struck the shields. "Shields at 70%, Rena reported. "Hold steady," Elias said. "They're trying to scare us off." The Resurgence retaliated, its cannons tearing through the sleek hull of another enemy ship. Explosions rippled along the vessel's length before it drifted lifelessly into the void. Elias's eyes flicked to the tactical display. 2 enemy ships remained, both maneuvering to flank them. He tapped the console, sending new coordinates to the helmsman. "Hard starboard. Bring us around." The ship veered sharply, evading a barrage of fire that would have crippled their aft shields. The counterattack was swift and brutal. 2 well-placed torpedoes ripped through the lead Council ship, leaving it a twisted wreck. "Last ship's retreating," Alara said, her tone sharp with satisfaction. "Cowards! Let them run," Elias replied. "They'll report back to their masters, and we'll deal with that later. Price, get damage reports." Rourke, hail the freighters. Make sure they're secure. As the bridge settled into an uneasy calm, Elias allowed himself a moment to breathe. But that moment was cut short when Rourke spoke again, his voice laced with urgency. Sir, we intercepted a transmission from the Council ship before it was destroyed. It's encrypted, but I'm pulling fragments. Put it on screen, Elias ordered. The holographic display flickered, revealing distorted text and audio. Rourke worked furiously to clean the data, piecing together fragments of a chilling message. Weapon deployment, target Earth, ensure compliance, no survivors. The bridge fell silent. The implications of the message hung heavy in the air. Elias's voice broke the tension, steady and resolute. Get me everything you can from that data. Price, assemble the senior staff in the war room. We need answers. In the war room, the tension was palpable. Elias stood at the head of the table, the intercepted message displayed on a central screen. Around him, his officers exchanged uneasy glances. This isn't just another skirmish, Alara said, breaking the silence. They're planning something big. They always wanted to control us, Rena added. Now they're escalating. Elias raised a hand to quiet them. Speculation won't help. We need hard facts. Rourke, what do we know about this weapon? Rourke shook his head. Not much. The encryption's advanced, but I've managed to trace the signal's origin. It's coming from a Council facility on Karen Delta. Alara frowned. That's deep in their territory. And exactly where we need to go, Elias said. His gaze swept the room, meeting the eyes of each officer. The Council thinks they can end us with one decisive blow. We're not going to let that happen. Rena leaned forward. You're proposing an infiltration mission? I am, Elias replied. We'll gather intelligence, confirm the weapon's existence, and if possible, destroy it. Alara nodded slowly. High risk, but if we pull it off, we'll send a message they won't forget. Agreed, Elias said. Prep the ship and alert the crew. We move at dawn. As the officers dispersed, Elias lingered, staring at the screen. The words, no survivors, echoed in his mind. The Council had crossed the line, and he would ensure they paid the price. Humanity had been banished, but they were far from broken. And if the Council thought Earth would bow quietly, they were about to learn just how wrong they were. The resurgence glided through the void like a predator stalking unseen prey. Its destination was the Zarnak Assembly Station, a massive, sprawling habitat orbiting a dying red giant. This was no diplomatic hub. The Zarnak were warriors, nomadic and feared throughout the galaxy for their brutal efficiency in battle. If humanity wanted allies against the Council, this was their best, and most dangerous, option. Captain Elias Cade stood on the observation deck, watching the station grow larger on the main screen. Beside him, Lieutenant Alara Price reviewed the terms of their approach. They're letting us dock, but their demands are clear, she said, lowering the tablet. No weapons, no tricks, and no delays. The Zarnak leader, War Priest Torvek, doesn't tolerate wasted time. Elias smirked faintly. Good. Neither do I. The docking procedure was tense. The Zarnak were infamous for testing potential allies, often through subtle provocations meant to expose weakness. As the Resurgence's airlock hissed open, Elias stepped forward, flanked by Price and 2 security officers. They were met by a squad of Zarnak warriors, each towering over the humans, their reptilian features and gleaming armor exuding menace. The leader of the squad, a scarred female with piercing amber eyes, snarled a greeting. Captain Elias Cade. War Priest Torvek awaits, but know this, you tread on Zarnak ground now. Respect is earned, not given. Elias inclined his head, his expression neutral. Then let's earn it. The journey through the station was a display of Zarnak culture, Spartan, militaristic, and steeped in tradition. Massive banners hung from the walls, depicting ancient battles and victories. Zarnak warriors sparred openly in training pits, their movements a blend of ferocity and precision. The air was heavy with the scent of metal and sweat. Torvek's audience chamber was no less imposing. The war priest sat on a throne carved from the bones of a massive alien beast, his crimson armor gleaming under the dim lights. His gaze was piercing, and his voice, when he spoke, carried the weight of command. "Humans," Torvik rumbled, his tone laced with disdain. "You come to the Zarnak seeking what? Aid? Protection? We are no shield for the weak." Elias stepped forward, unflinching under the warpriest's scrutiny. "We come seeking partnership. The Council threatens us both, and together, we can challenge their dominance." Torvik laughed, a guttural sound that echoed through the chamber. "The Council fears us, human. They do not threaten us." "They will," Elias said sharply, his voice cutting through the laughter. "They see us as obstacles to their control. It's only a matter of time before they turn their attention to the Zarnak." The chamber fell silent, the tension palpable. Torvik leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "Bold words. But words do not win wars." Elias gestured to Price, who stepped forward and activated a small holographic projector. The intercepted data from the Council transmission appeared, displaying fragments of the weapon plans and the destruction it promised. "This is what they're building," Elias said. "A weapon capable of wiping out entire worlds. They've targeted Earth, but do you think they'll stop there? When they're done with us, they'll turn their sights on anyone who refuses to kneel." Torvik studied the projection, his expression unreadable. When he finally spoke, his voice was low and measured. "You bring evidence, but evidence does not prove strength. The Zarnak value action, not talk." Elias straightened, his resolve hardening. "Then give us the chance to prove ourselves." The chance came faster than expected. A siren blared through the station, followed by a Zarnak warrior bursting into the chamber. "War Priest, Council forces have attacked Outpost 8. Their numbers are overwhelming." Torvik's eyes gleamed with a dangerous light. "So, the Council moves against us after all." Elias stepped forward. "Let us help. We've fought them before. Together, we can push them back." Torvik's gaze bore into him, searching for any sign of deceit. After a moment, he nodded. "Very well, human. Show me your worth." The battle over Outpost 8 was chaos. The resurgents joined the Zarnak fleet, their ships crude but bristling with firepower. Council vessels, sleek and efficient, moved in tight formations, their coordinated attacks overwhelming the Zarnak defenses. Elias stood on the bridge, issuing orders with precision. "Target their lead frigate," he commanded. "Disrupt their coordination." The resurgence's cannons roared, their fire striking true. The lead Council ship shuddered under the assault, its formation breaking as its escorts scrambled to adapt. "Zarnak ships are advancing," Price reported. "They're hitting the Council hard." "Good," Elias said. "Keep up the pressure." The tide of battle began to shift. The Zarnak, emboldened by the resurgence's intervention, pressed their advantage. But the Council wasn't finished. A massive dreadnought emerged from hyperspace, its weapons already primed. "Dreadnought inbound," Rourke called. "It's targeting the Zarnak flagship." Elias's mind raced. The Zarnak needed their flagship's leadership, and the Council knew it. "Price, prepare the plasma torpedoes. Target their weapons array." "Direct assault on a dreadnought?" Price asked. "That's suicide." "Not if we're precise," Elias said. "Fire on my mark." The resurgence sped toward the dreadnought, its smaller size allowing it to weave through the chaos. The Council ship loomed ahead, its cannons charging. Elias waited, every second stretching into eternity. "Now!" he shouted. The torpedoes launched, streaking through the void. They struck the dreadnought's weapons array in a brilliant explosion, disabling its primary cannons. The Zarnak flagship seized the opportunity, unleashing a devastating barrage that tore through the dreadnought's hull. The remaining Council ships, seeing their advantage lost, began to retreat. The battlefield fell silent, save for the crackle of dying fires and the hum of victorious engines. Back on the station, Torvik greeted Elias with a nod of approval. "You fought well, human. The Council underestimated you, as did I." Elias met his gaze. The council's only going to escalate. We need to be ready. Torvek's expression hardened. The Zarnak will stand with you. But know this, alliances are forged in battle, not diplomacy. If you falter, we will not hesitate to act. Understood, Elias said. As he returned to the resurgence, Elias felt a flicker of hope. The Zarnak were fierce allies, and their support could turn the tide. But he knew this was only the beginning. The Council's weapon loomed, and humanity's survival depended on staying one step ahead. The resurgence emerged from hyperspace in the shadow of Charon Delta, a barren, frozen world circling a dying white dwarf. Above the planet loomed the Council facility, a massive orbital station bristling with weaponry and protected by a fleet of automated defense drones. Its design was brutal and efficient, a stark reminder of the power the Council wielded. On the bridge, Captain Elias Cade studied the tactical display. The station's layout glowed in sharp relief, the data painstakingly gathered from the stolen intelligence. Every detail had been analyzed, every weakness considered. Stealth protocols are active, Lieutenant Alara Price said from her station. We're invisible for now, but if they catch a whiff of us... They won't, Elias said firmly. We're not here to fight. We're here to infiltrate and leave before they know what hit them. Behind him, the infiltration team assembled in the airlock. Price, leading the ground operation, checked her gear one last time. The team was small, 6 operatives, including herself, chosen for their precision and adaptability. Each wore sleek black armor equipped with magnetic grips and oxygen recyclers for the station's low-gravity environment. Elias approached her. You know the mission. Get in, confirm the weapons status, and plant the charges. If things go sideways, your priority is getting out alive. Alara gave a tight nod. We'll make it count. Elias clapped her on the shoulder. Good luck. The infiltration team launched from the resurgence in a cloaked shuttle, its engines silent as it approached the station. Price watched the station grow larger through the viewport, her heart pounding in her chest. The Council's reputation for security was well-earned. Even a minor misstep would spell disaster. Maglocks engaged, one of the operatives whispered as the shuttle latched onto the station's outer hull. The team moved quickly, cutting through a maintenance hatch and slipping inside. The station's interior was cold and sterile, its halls illuminated by harsh white light. Stick to the plan, Price murmured, her voice steady despite the tension. We're ghosts. The team navigated the labyrinthine corridors, avoiding patrols and automated cameras. The stolen schematics guided them to the station's core, where the weapon was housed. As they moved, Price's mind raced with questions. What kind of weapon would justify such secrecy? And what would it take to destroy it? The answers came too soon. They entered the core chamber, and Price's breath caught. Suspended in the center of the room was a massive, gleaming construct, an energy weapon of unprecedented scale. Its core pulsed with an eerie blue light, its surface etched with intricate designs that hinted at alien technology. By the stars, one of the operatives whispered. That thing could vaporize a planet. Price swallowed hard. Plant the charges. We're taking this thing out. The team worked quickly, attaching explosive devices to key structural points. Price kept her weapon at the ready, her eyes scanning the room for any sign of trouble. She had a bad feeling, a sensation like static crawling under her skin. Charges set, another operative reported. Timer is at 5 minutes. Let's move, Price ordered. They were halfway back to the maintenance hatch when the alarms blared. Red lights bathed the corridor, and a robotic voice echoed through the station. Security breach detected. Initiating lockdown. Run! Price shouted. The team sprinted through the corridors, but the station seemed to close in around them. Bulkheads slammed shut, forcing them to take alternate routes. Automated drones appeared, their weapons firing with deadly precision. One of the operatives fell, a laser bolt piercing their armor. Price gritted her teeth, dragging the remaining team onward. Keep moving! We're almost there! On the resurgence, Elias watched the unfolding chaos on the monitors. The infiltration team's vitals flickered, several signals already lost. His fist clenched as he barked orders to the bridge crew. Helm, bring us closer to the station. Weapons, prepare to fire on those drones. We're not leaving them behind. Price's voice crackled over the comms. Captain, we're pinned down near the secondary airlock. We need an exit. Understood, Elias replied. Hold your position. We're coming for you. The resurgence roared into action, its cannons blasting the station's defenses. Automated drones swarmed the ship, but Elias's crew held them at bay. Amid the chaos, a rescue shuttle launched from the resurgence, racing toward the secondary airlock. Price and her remaining team reached the airlock just as the shuttle arrived. The door slid open, revealing a young pilot gesturing frantically. Get in! They piled inside, the hatch slamming shut behind them. As the shuttle pulled away, Price glanced back at the station. The charges detonated a moment later, the explosion ripping through the weapon's core. A shockwave of energy radiated outward, shaking the shuttle as it fled. Weapons destroyed, Price said, her voice hollow. But we lost too many. The pilot nodded grimly. Let's get you back to the ship. On the bridge of the resurgence, Elias watched the station's remains drift into the void. The weapon was gone, but the cost weighed heavily on him. He turned to Price as she stepped onto the bridge, her armor scorched and her expression grim. You did well, he said, though the words felt hollow. The Council won't be able to rebuild that weapon anytime soon. They'll come after us harder now, Price replied. We've drawn blood. Elias nodded. Then we'll be ready. Humanity survived worse. As the resurgence entered hyperspace, Elias stared out the viewport, his mind already racing with the next steps. The Council had underestimated humanity before. They wouldn't make that mistake again, but by the time they adapted, Elias intended to make sure it was too late. Humanity's fight for survival was far from over, but for the first time in years, Elias felt a flicker of hope. They had struck a blow against the Council. And if they could do it once, they could do it again.